Richard Hammond has challenged me to a race. He will be driving his race car, and I will be driving this. In this video, my car will be tuned, gain some top-notch rubber, and brake upgrades so that it stands a chance against the boss. If you follow our second channel, More DRIVETRIBE, or you follow me on Instagram, you may have seen this car already. This is my dream hot hatch, the MG ZR, specifically the hot one, the ZR 160. That means a 160 VVC engine, the upgraded suspension, and the body kit. It's everything I wanted my first car, my Rover 25, to be. The aim for today is to modify it to be capable of a decent lap time. So let's start with power. We are at Marlin Motor Engineers in Milton Keynes to hang out with Mark Stacey, who is known in the MG Rover community as the man to go to if you want more pep from your K-Series. Mark literally developed the K-Series engine, and following the demise of MG Rover, he went on to form a remap service, K-Maps, with his unique expertise. He is now the official tune supplier to pretty much every MG Rover race car in action today. Mark, there's no other way to put it. You are MG Rover royalty. Everyone's had their car K-mapped. They turned up to Pride of Longbridge. You've probably fettled with their car. How did you get into all of this?
Well, I had to spend 20 years developing the cars in the first place, so that was quite useful knowledge.
Okay, so you were there right at the start.
Right at the start, going around the world, testing on frozen lakes and
Wow.
50 degrees in Death Valley. But I just thought with that knowledge, I knew the cars better than anyone. Why not? Okay. See if there's any interest. And it's,
so you K-map MG Rovers. What does that actually mean? What is a K-map?
It's resetting the ignition and fueling parameters to optimize them fully. There's a lot of marketing interference, a lot of compromising the tune full stop, and I've dealt with that with the experience that's involved, and to get better throttle response, more power, more economy even.
Okay, and then this is supposed to be the hot one, the 160, but it's a naturally aspirated engine, so realistically it's not going to be massive power gains, is it? It's nip and tuck here and there just to get that bit more pep.
Yeah, with a turbo you can go crazy, over 300 brake from a 1.8 turbo, but with these, any NA's perhaps 10% gain. The blunting that goes in from marketing, it makes it feel very woolly, particularly at low speed, so I deal with that and make it responsive everywhere. So.
Well, you know these engines incredibly well. Can we have a look and you can tell me exactly what it is?
Mark explained that MG marketing wanted their faster cars to be at specific power levels. 260 for the V8 ZT, 180 for the ZS, and 160 for the ZR. The VVC K-Series had more to give, but MG deliberately held it back to fit the model range. So today's aim is to unleash that horsepower that MG held back on.
So the Rover K-Series came in a whole load of displacements, but this is kind of the big daddy, the 1.8 VVC.
Yep.
And the way, just layman's terms, I denote a VVC is this isn't plastic, and then you've got this unit here. How does VVC work? It's kind of like Honda's VTEC.
Like Honda's VTEC, it's variable valve timing throughout the rev range though, depending on the targets. And there's a plunger in here working with a hydraulic system from ECU control that will vary that cam position to reach targets prescribed by the unit.
Right, okay, so it's less that big step like the Honda, it's the entire way through.
In theory, but in the way that the factory tuned it, it tends to come in at around 4,000. It feels like a VTEC.
Okay, so you're saying around a 10% gain in power, so what does that actually look like? That'll be around 170 something?
Yeah, the race cars that we supply have their own class called the 170 class,
right,
because it sees that kind of gain.
Okay, and a 160 was actually in here recently. We've got a result on screen here.
Yeah, it's interesting because most engines, NA engines, will tail off. There's your power curve.
Yes.
Or tail off in this kind of characteristic. The VVC engine,
just keeps
in the way that it can optimize everything all the way through the rev range, gives you a diagonal line. As you can see in this case, the baseline was pretty good at 167. If we can carry on with this, like a race engine, a few more mods and its fixed cams to get more revs, that would take us up towards 200. But the VVC isn't safe above this kind of area. It will lose valve control.
Okay, so that's an interesting thing. So despite being the biggest, most powerful engine, if you actually want to go further with your power, you have to ditch the VVC.
You have to ditch the VVC.
And just go kind of solid?
Solid cams.
Right, okay.
But then when you have extra revs, you need forged pistons, solid lifters, throttle bodies.
Okay, but I guess at the end of the day, this is a 20-year-old car, so what's your process? Is it just get a baseline and then tune from there?
Yeah, see where the engine is to start with and apply 25 years of experience.
Okay, cool. Let's send it. With the ZR strapped down, Mark did a couple of runs to get a baseline for where my car was stock, and it wasn't an ideal start. It was running very flat, spitting out 134 horsepower at the crank instead of 160. Mark, 130s is not what I was looking for a first run. That's a bit low, isn't it?
It's not the best baseline.
In terms of your tuning, do you have a tune ready to go and it just kind of plugs in, or are you on the go on the keyboard doing your thing?
Well, the VVC K-Maps upgrade is so well proven through the race series. It's been raced now for over 10 years. Mm-hmm. It's actually fixed anyway for that championship. First thing to do on this is find out that everything is working as it should and see where those losses are.
So your numbers are saying intake temperature slightly high.
Slightly, yeah, but it wouldn't explain that drop.
Fueling, okay.
Fueling, spot on. The fundamentals are air and fuel. As I've just said, the fueling is right, the ignition is where it should be, and it's quite a bit down, so.
Get this date in your diary, folks. August the 30th, 2025, DRIVETRIBE Live at Bicester Heritage. If you want to meet Richard and the rest of the DRIVETRIBE team, get your tickets through the link in the description below. Mark set about doing different tests and reading different outputs to see if he could suss out why my MG was down on power.
I say you're getting a gasket issue maybe. I'll show you what it's reading. It looks fairly normal. Fuel's there, the air's there, the mats are there. Makes no sense.
No, it doesn't make any sense.
After much deliberation, Mark decided it was time to pull out every car owner's worst nightmare. A compression test.
Jesus, Tony, you don't think...
Shut up, God forbid, God forbid. Don't talk like that.
More lethargic, but
Martin, you've just done a compression test. What did you find? What did the numbers say?
Cylinders 1 and 2, you've got a very quick build up to 225
Right.
PSI. Number 3 struggles to get to 170.
Okay.
And cylinder 4 makes about 195.
Is that level of pressure drop, is that catastrophic? Or
It's
is that
not
just,
catastrophic, it's probably indicative of where expected on an engine of that age.
Okay. Do you think it's
But
worth
I don't think it's
25 horsepower?
I don't think it's 25 horsepower.
Okay. Well, that's
Less.
good. It's not like it's suddenly a three-cylinder K series, so that's good. I gather Martin's actually got a different ECU. So what? Just in case it's something to do with this old one, we'll whack in a K-Map ECU and see what happens.
Yep.
The archaeology continues. Bit of a puzzle, really. The graph almost makes it look like the VVC isn't working at all, which is why it's that chunk down on power. But then the stats that are connected exactly to that VVC plunger are showing that it's working, it's doing its thing. The compression test isn't the best, but it's not catastrophic either. Maybe I just need to settle for a ZR 140. The world's first. Right, Mark, we have our race tune, we have our final figure. So this was our original base run, and then we have got our lift up here. So how has your race tune managed to get that power gain? What has actually happened?
through ignition efficiency changes mainly, but a little bit of fueling as well. Just to explain on the curve, I don't know how much you can see, but the extra revs here are going to be useful. I know we're way down on where we should be mechanically. We've got to find out what's going on. But as an offset, just to explain what the map does, for a start, the rev limiters increase, so you get more speed through the gears. That could be handy. And we take a lot of the blunting out. That also improves chassis control. It makes it much cleaner on and off the throttle.
So basically we've got the revs going from what, 7.2 something to up near 7, well past 7.5. So that's just going to be that bit more power, a bit more pep.
The rev limiter, actually, it's an interesting tale in that at the factory, it was allowed to go to 7.3, and then it dropped it to 7. It was a fudge for 0 to 60 times for the magazine tests. Oh. So you hit 7.3 in first, then into second, it's dropped to 7 for the rest of it until you power off and reset it.
Interesting.
So I take that out and keep it at 7.5.
As we saw earlier, the graph should be coming right up here, diagonal line, and then dotting away. So yeah, we still, despite your tune, we've got some sort of fundamental issue.
Yeah, we've got more from a poor baseline. What can I do?
Sure, exactly. And it seems to be we've kind of got two options. We've either got a full engine build to get rid of whatever is happening in there, or you were saying there's a potential other.
In the way that this tails off, it looks like breathing. Either VVC problems or breathing. The VVC looks fine. I wonder if the exhaust is blocked. We've seen that before, where the catalyst breaks up and that cuts the breathing at the top end.
Right, okay. So yeah, we've got this car up on the ramp tomorrow, so we can check that.
Yep.
That would be a very nice, easy fix, because with this tune, it would just learn itself and be straight up there.
Straight there.
Once it was clear.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's either full engine build or clearing out the exhaust.
Take your pick.
So we've got our final figure, 141.2. I want that to say 170 something one day, but for now we've got an MG ZR 140, the only one in the world. Thank you, Mark. Much appreciated.
Okay.
Thank
cheers.
you. When I bought this car, I wanted to make sure it had a super clean history, so I did that using the sponsor of today's video, Car Vertical. Before I show you this car's report, let me show you what could have been. Let's say I'd bought this Honda Civic. Things would not have been so rosy. There is an amber warning in damage, and the photos in the report show exactly what went down. That looks like a lamppost hit to me, right in the centre of the engine bay. The report says that happened in 2018, and the car was a Category S, meaning it had sustained fundamental structural damage. Imagine if it had been bodged straight, put up for sale, and you'd bought it without knowing it had had that big a shunt. Of course, when I bought this car, I made sure to check it had a clean history. You punch in your reg or VIN number and it will spit out a report that looks a bit like this, using their extensive database. We have green ticks for mileage, finance and damage, and it tells me that the car has had 5 owners. It has never been stolen, and the mileage graph shows that from 2006 to 2014, it was barely driven, only covering just over 2,000 miles. Maybe this thing was put in a barn and seen as some sort of investment. Maybe that's why it's in such good nick. To keep safe and make sure that you're buying a solid car, use our exclusive link in the description below or the discount code DRIVETRIBE to get 20% off when using Car Vertical, and thanks to them for sponsoring today's video. You join me up in a very, very rainy Scotland. I'm up here for a wedding, but the mods never stop. I've been trying to find a set of tyres at Bridgestone Potenza Sport. They're my favourite type of tyre, but they're quite rare. We've been up here filming an SLR and some Top Gear cars. You'll see that soon on the channel. So I'm now here at Quick Fit Inverkeithing, where they've got a set. So the ZR is currently up on the ramp, getting some fresh rubber. The Uni Royals that were on the car, they're a very, very popular choice for MG Rovers. So they're the perfect fit. They perform okay, but for going up against Richard, I need something a bit stickier. So Bridgestone's going on. Okay, it is a Sunday morning, just after a wedding, and it's 24 hours until my track battle with Richard, and I've brought my MG to this place, Dreadnought Garage in Callander. If you're an MG Rover guy, and you live in Scotland, you know this place. This is basically the mecca for Scottish MG Rovers. Paul Luty runs Dreadnought, a family business up in Callander that is steeped in MG Rover folklore, specifically surrounding the legendary supercharged V8 ZT400s. Paul is arguably the winningest MG ZR racing driver of all time, having campaigned numerous race-tuned ZR 170s and 190s. If anyone can make my ZR quicker, it's Mr. Luty. After chatting to Paul on Instagram, we want to cover 2 things. We want to find out why there's this lack of power, potentially find a blockage, see what's going on, but 2, upgrade the brakes. There was a big brake kit coming, but it hasn't turned up. But Paul here has another solution. My plan, I'd ordered a big brake kit. It hasn't arrived yet, it's come late, but basically I had a chat with you, and you were like, do not bother, you don't need it. So from the ZR racer's perspective, what is the best brake upgrade for these cars?
Simply brake pads, that's it.
Right, so basically the standard calipers and this are totally fine for the level of racing you were doing, which was what, the 190s?
Yep, you just do not need anything else. If you put a big disc on there, all you've got to do is get that moving, and you've got to stop it. It's a bigger thing, you're adding more weight to your car.
So the pads are on their way, and what are they? Are they pretty serious race pads?
Yeah, I believe they are Mintex F4Rs.
Okay.
So you will probably not have to change it for a long, long time.
Okay, because yeah, there's no way I'm driving it to the level you were,
Yeah.
so they should be totally fine.
Yeah, I mean, those pads are capable of dealing with a ZR with way more power, absolutely flat out, on slicks. So the slicks put so much more load through the brakes.
But what baffles me is that we're not touching the rears. So basically, you were saying that the kind of front bias of the braking of an MG ZR means the rears are doing virtually nothing.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just a ZR. Most front-wheel drive cars,
Yeah.
when you're braking really hard, the back's doing nothing. It can't. Where's all the weight?
Sure.
It's on the front.
Along with the pads, Paul suggested some race spec brake fluid.
And is this the stuff you used in your race car?
Yeah, I mean, I'm using that in a car with massive brake discs that are glowing red hot.
Right, okay.
And the pedal does not have an issue with that.
So basically you're saying I could do a full track day in this car and be absolutely hammering on the brakes and they're going to be totally fine.
It'll be fine.
A big thank you to Finish Line UK that dealt me in with these race pads on such late notice. Paul whipped out the old front pads, cleaned everything up and then installed the race pads. It was then time to search for potential power losses and Paul honed straight in on the exhaust. It turns out it had been badly bodged, jumping from small to big to small diameters from front to back, which could be causing a lot of restriction.
So Paul, we can basically see up to the cat, kind of.
Yes.
What are you seeing?
Right, I can see a lot of black,
Okay.
a lambda center, and beyond that, I can see the honeycomb shape of the cat.
Okay. So it's not cat disaster then?
No,
it's not all ended up somewhere else.
I mean, I can only see half of it. I can see about 50% of it, but there's no sign that it's trying to push out or anything like that.
Okay, so I guess that's bad, kind of, because I was thinking we'd just get an airline and suddenly I'd have 170 horsepower.
No, I was just going to cut it out.
So do you reckon all the different kind of diameters going on here and there throughout the exhaust system, is that enough for 30 horsepower?
Can be. It can be.
If anyone wants to get in touch about doing that exhaust system, DM me, Mike_Fernie on Instagram, because I want to sort that out.
By the way, if you want to see more of Izzy, me and the rest of the DRIVETRIBE team, make sure to subscribe to our second channel, More DRIVETRIBE. Broken down Range Rovers, buying dream cars, more of the boss. Go check it out through the link in the description below. Considering Paul has driven, well, virtually every performance ZR under the sun, I decided to throw in the keys so he can give a bit of a blast and tell me how it feels. I've never driven a VVC car before, so I don't know how much of a kick there should be. Is it VTEC-y?
No.
Okay, so it's just like throughout. But there seems to be chats in forums that if you get a K-map, it becomes more prominent. There's a bit more kind of...
I'll be honest,
It's pretty linear.
yeah, it's not like a VTEC. I mean, the VTEC, if you think how a VTEC was working, it was then moving another cab, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was something mechanically moving,
Engaging them.
engaging, and that's why you got that
Yeah.
sudden difference in performance. It doesn't work like that.
See, I don't have that gauge, but you absolutely do. So
No,
you tell me how it is.
Yeah, it feels like a non-VVC.
Okay. Well, thanks for your time today. I massively appreciate it. And I'll text you the result.
Can't wait. Can't wait.
Time was really ticky after all that tinkering, so we simply had to settle for some diagnosis on the power loss, but not fixing it. I said my goodbyes to Paul and headed on the long trip south, destination Landau Circuit. Judgment Day is here. We're at Landau. The ZR meets up with Richard's MGB. That video is coming very soon to the DRIVETRIBE channel. You may have noticed a slight modification. On my way back from Dreadnought, down the M6, my front grille tore off. I love the ZR front grille. It's somewhere in a hedge on the M6. But I'm super happy with where we got the car to. So, you will very soon see these two cars go head to head. So stay tuned for that. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. I've been Mike, and don't forget to subscribe to DRIVETRIBE.